everybody, and welcome in to Blue Jays Today, folks, where we are now in the thick of it. We have let the dust settle from the World Series, from the postseason, and now free agency being upon us, you're starting to see a bunch of stuff come out. We are truly in the season of the Blue Jays are in on, or the Blue Jays have checked in on, or they are linked to. That's where we're at right now, everybody. And of course, we wouldn't be doing our jobs properly if we didn't bring you that news and break down all of those latest rumors and reports. So that's what we're going to be doing in this one. Please make sure to hit the like, smash the subscribe, and let us know your thoughts about all the free agent whatever that's going on right now.
Yeah, you know what I like to do on this show? It's like, yes, the Jays, you could argue, are in on everybody. I mean, they are always being linked and rumored to going in on a lot of people, and it always seems like the Blue Jays team is that type of team. But what we can do on this show is actually take that information and think, is this realistic? Is this an actual possibility?
Most likely not.
And most likely it's not. So if you see all these rumors, and they're going to be out there all over the place, just come here. We'll talk about it. You know, let's actually talk about it in a real sense because, look, we got nothing else to talk about, right?
Well, you know what? Let me tell you guys. There's been a lot of pushback from Blue Jays fans about like, oh, I'm so tired of hearing that we're in on this guy or interested in. And I do get it. Like, it is very fatiguing, and like you know, you hear it's like, oh, Juan Soto and Alonso and Fried, who's on the thumbnail, which we are going to talk about, Max Fried. But then I thought about it this way, right? The Tampa Bay Rays. It was recently revealed that the Tampa Bay Rays have checked in on Juan Soto. And they never check in on anyone. And the internet pushback from that, like, it just became a meme. Because everyone was like, are you joking me? Like, that's never going to happen.
I saw this meme of, like, it was that headline, and then it was, like, a supermodel DM, and someone being like, hey.
Oh, it was Madison Beer. I saw the same thing. I saw the exact same thing. It's like, yeah, literally somebody just, like, said hey to Madison Beer. And that's what it feels like, right? It's like, listen, it would be nice, but we're not worthy. It's not going to happen. So at the very least, I am appreciative of the Toronto Blue Jays for not being in the Tampa Bay Rays boat or the Detroit Tigers or whatever type of boat. We can actively go out and get people, and we have seen them do that before. Welcome into the 69 people watching right now. Let's look at the first player that the Toronto Blue Jays have been recently linked to, and that guy being Max Fried. Now, John Heyman in a recent article said that the Orioles, Red Sox, and Blue Jays are all in on Max Fried, so a lot of AL East teams. We also recently heard from Ben Nicholson-Smith from those GM meetings that the Toronto Blue Jays are, I guess kind of surprisingly, really looking at starting pitching this winter, right? We were all thinking it was going to be a bullpen thing and some hitting stuff, and I still think that it should be, and they are going to address that. But he was saying that, well, actually, there could be a strategy where we go all in on the starting pitching market, which is what he is hearing, and then that kind of like supplements the bullpen in other ways. So let me hear your thoughts on that, and also Max Fried as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, you go out a starting pitcher, and and Ross Atkins actually talked about this. You'd ideally like to have Yariel Rodriguez go back into a bullpen role, which I think we saw last year. He was a lot more effective, and again, we only have 1 year to have all these guys hit and be the most effective. And if that's what Yariel is going to be the most effective at, you go make that happen. So how do you do that? You got to add a little bit more depth. Now, I didn't think in my mind that it would be a Max Fried that we're going to go all in on, which is crazy to think.
That's a top-tier talent.
Because, well, absolutely, and top-tier talent gets paid top-tier money. He's projected to get $136 million, 6 per year, and honestly, it could be even more depending on the bidding war that's going on here. He's still at a very good age right now, 30, right? So, like 30 years old in the prime of his pitching career. He had a little bit of an injury last year, but it didn't really hold him back too much. He still made a lot of starts, 29 last year, and yes, he's had injury histories in the past, but is pretty healthy as well. But this was not the kind of guy that I thought the Toronto Blue Jays would be going all in on, right? Like, I think they would have gone for something more, in the budget range, because we don't have a lot of money to be spending on a starting pitcher. I think if we're going to spend money on anything, it'd be a bat of some sort. That's why I'm pretty surprised by this.
When I was reading Ben Nicholson-Smith's article, and shout out to him, a great coverage right there. He was talking about the starting pitching market. And the example that he used, and this is not me linking them to anything, like he just used this as an example, right? He used the example of Kikuchi. And when I initially heard of, okay, they're in on a starting pitcher, that's kind of where my brain went to. Somebody who does have some type of upside, but doesn't have the same type of resume as a Max Fried, and you could still go out and you could get somebody like a Kikuchi, and then also, address the lineup and maybe going out and getting a Tyler O'Neill or whatever, right?
Right.
Max Fried, I mean, you're looking at maybe even more than Kevin Gausman type of money here. Like, this is another veteran starter that you are going to have to sign to a 5 or 6 or 7 year type of contract that you are going to have for years. For me, don't get me wrong, the player, just look, zeroing in on the player of Max Fried, really quality guy. Would I like him in a Blue Jays uniform? Absolutely. Does it scare me that we might be going out and spending another $100 million on somebody in that rotation for an aging veteran pitcher? Yes, it does.
Well, exactly, right? But I think I also look at it this way, and I'm talking about this in a video room coming out tomorrow at 11 a.m., guys, so check that out. But I really do think the Blue Jays are in a position right now where they're not really being picky, and they're kind of just going guns blazing and seeing what hits. If it's a starting pitcher that hits, we got a starting pitcher, and that's obviously going to help your team in preventing runs, but you're also going to need some other hitters as well. But they're kind of just going and seeing, well, if we miss on all of our hitters, at least we got Max Fried.
Right.
At least we spent money on Max Fried, so that is obviously going to still help your ball club. That's where I'm kind of thinking they're going at. They're just shooting their shots and seeing what lands. Because, like you said, I wouldn't be disappointed if that was our big move, and then we got, let's say, like a Ha-Seong Kim, and then our offense is still kind of bad. Like, that's gonna be very scary. Don't get me wrong, but we're gonna have a really damn good rotation again going into next season, and hopefully they go supplement that bullpen. And yeah, is it scary for me to run it all back? Absolutely, because I'd feel way more comfortable with a bat. But at least you went, you tried something that you got what was there, what was available to you.
No, that's true, right? And I mean, thinking about it like that, I guess it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, because we were getting on them all last year about how it was, very picky in the sense of it's Shohei Ohtani or it's nothing, right? And then when you miss out on Shohei Ohtani, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, we are fucked right now. And you go out and you get an IKF and a Kevin Kiermaier and what have you. You know what happened there. So if this year's strategy is we're not going to be picky. We're going to shoot our shot with all of these talented guys, all these guys that have value, all of these players that can bring something to your ball club, and we'll see what lands. Okay, what? I can get behind that. At least we're trying something different, because we've watched this management time and time again do the exact same thing over and over again, slamming their head up against the wall, and of course that makes me and a lot of you, I imagine, extremely frustrated. So I suppose when you put it that way, I can get past the fear of having this, aging veteran pitching staff that we're throwing hundreds of millions of dollars to, if we are just, going out, shooting our shot with everybody and seeing what sticks.
Getting the best player available. But don't get me wrong, guys. Damn, we need an effing bat. We absolutely need an effing bat.
That's the thing, right? Let me ask you, right? Forget name value, forget anything like that. If you had to make a choice, somebody gives you two, it's like the Matrix, right? You got two different pills right here. Which pill do you choose? Do you choose the, let's spend, 6 years, $150 million on a pitcher, or let's spend 6 years, $150 million on a bat?
On a bat, right? I mean, a very comparable in terms of dollar amount you're going to see this winter is like Pete Alonso, and that's something that we're actually going to talk about in this podcast, in this show. Yeah, I'd much rather take a Pete Alonso, because that's an area of need. And that war that you would create, the difference there is much greater than, well, let's say, Max Fried obviously is a much more proven and better pitcher than, a Yuriel Rodriguez at this point, but Yuriel Rodriguez has the upside to pitch a low 3. So it's like, it feels for me, whereas the upside on our offense is, there's no one with an upside to hit 40 home runs or 50 home runs. No, the upside's much greater there. So definitely the hitter.
Okay, let me ask you this. Guys, don't come from my head just yet. Hear me out on this one. This is just a hypothetical situation. We were actually out getting drinks with a good buddy of ours, Scott, from the Walk Off Podcast. Big shout out to Scott from the Walk Off Podcast. If you haven't checked them out, then please go do so. They have some incredible content over there. But he brought this up, and he was talking about how he would like this management, if you're truly trying to be competitive in 2025, seriously, right? You're trying to be competitive in 2025, he would like them to take that asset that is a Ricky Tiedemann, who is not going to be playing baseball for a year, maybe a year and a half. We don't know. We don't know how the progression's going to go. It's going to be a long time, right? Not going to be playing baseball. Does he ever get back to where he was? You got to hope so, but there's obviously lots of question marks there as well. So long period of time, Ricky Tiedemann's not going to be playing baseball. If we're truly trying to be competitive in 2025, he was bringing up the idea of taking that asset, and if another team, somebody who is still years away from being competitive, maybe in Oakland, maybe somebody like that.
Who's Oakland? Who's Oakland?
Yeah, right. Excuse me. Yeah, the Athletics. Just the Athletics. But a team like that, you take that asset, you trade him away. At first, when I heard that, I was like, Scott, what are we doing here, man?
Because it's a sensitive topic. That's our number one guy we can get behind.
What are we? Listen, okay, this is not MLB The Show. All right? I don't think Ross Atkins is capable of something like that. However, I guess if you did go out and you did pay a bunch of money for a Max Fried, that would certainly open the door a lot more for me anyways to then just take a Ricky Tiedemann and go, okay, give me a Brent Rooker or give me somebody of hitting quality in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, you're years away, and right now you got to look at the timeline. So I do kind of hear that argument, right? I mean, if this is the final year, and I've said this before in the last month, I'm kind of pounding this in, it's time to go all in now. Like, this is it. So if that is the key to going all in, go all in. Now, there's obviously, you have to mock out that situation. Is Ricky Tiedemann going to be enough to get a Brent Rooker? And like he was saying, Mason Miller and whatever. Like,
yes.
that's a lot. That's a lot of assets.
More questions than answers right? in that scenario.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, hey, I'm open to it if it all works out. Now, one thing that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Blue Jays are open to, just doing a little pivot here, back over because we were talking about that hitting side of things. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Toronto Blue Jays are open to moving him to third base for this next season. And it's mainly because it keeps the options open for what we're talking about, which is a Pete Alonso, a first baseman. And there's also other first basemen out there, like Christian Walker is a viable bat that you can absolutely go out and get, right? So there's more options in the first base side of things than there are the third base side of things. So Vladdy could be going over playing third base. Now, I don't think this would be permanent. There's obviously a DH spot for a reason. But if you need to fit everybody in the lineup, let's say you got Spencer Horwitz still on this team next year, then maybe you got to fit Vladdy over at third base. What do you think about that idea of that kind of transition?
Well, I think that this whole strategy, kind of, I guess, lends itself to what you were talking about earlier, which is we're just taking stuff, we're throwing it against the wall, hoping to see what sticks. You don't want to be in a spot right now where, we can't even approach a Christian Walker or a Pete Alonso because we have Guerrero there. Beggars can't be choosers, and the Toronto Blue Jays are beggars. Don't get that mistaken.
Big time.
That's where we are at as an organization right now. So I do think, just from the standpoint of leaving all your options on the table, I mean, fuck it, who knows? Maybe Pete Alonso is, again, a secret closeted Toronto Blue Jay fan for his whole life, and, he's willing to take a massive discount here, but because you got Vladdy at first and you never pick up the phone, you never know that, right? So, of course, I think they're just trying to leave all their options open. Does it frighten me a little bit to see Guerrero now, after effectively 5 years of just primarily being a first base and DH, moving over to the third base bag? A little bit. Yeah. I mean, we did that for a short period of time this past year, and there wasn't any major, I guess, errors or mistakes or anything like that cost us.
No.
But it was also a very small sample size, and we're talking about games that don't matter. So, in a game that does matter, could I see the Toronto Blue Jays having some problems over there at the third base bag if Vladdy's manning it? Maybe. Maybe I'm not doing him justice enough, and I should be putting more faith in him. But if we got a Pete Alonso, I can get over it pretty quick.
Look, we're down bad right now in the fourth quarter of this franchise. You know what I mean? And we got to start shooting some shots. And if when I see a ball going down the field in the NFL, my football team, and it's third and long, and they take a deep shot downfield. Oh yeah, am I going to hold my breath when that ball's going down there and flying through the air? Absolutely. Am I going to hold my breath when a ball's going to hit the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. playing third base? Well, absolutely. But I know that I got my star receiver as well trying to make that catch down there. And if, to put an example of the Toronto Blue Jays, we're throwing shots right now. And it's if it means Vladdy has to go play some third base in order to get a Pete Alonso in the lineup, then go play some third base. Right? We can't be perfect. We can't be nitpicky. We can't be, beggars can't be choosers. Yeah. So you just got to go make it happen. And I'm okay with it. Go cast that big net out in the free agency pool. Whatever sticks. Hell, if you end up getting Gleyber Torres and Ha-Seong Kim, this is the gift you've been given now. Go make it work. Go make some trades, make some other additions to make this all make sense.
Yeah, and I guess it's one of those things, too, where, I mean, if you do it and he is the third baseman, and after a month of 2025 baseball, we're like, holy mother of God, Guerrero has, 5 errors right now, and this is a big problem. Well, we'll address that when the time comes.
Exactly.
And then, okay, if it's a big problem, then we'll deal with it. If not, well, now you got Pete Alonso in the lineup, and you got Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and you're feeling really good about that. Speaking of Pete Alonso, I mean, this is another player that would be great for the Toronto Blue Jays. And if they are very serious about moving Guerrero over to third, then the creme de la creme of the crop of whatever is Pete Alonso at that first base bag. This is somebody who, for the course of his career, has always been up there in homers. In the best seasons, he could be leading the league, and the floor is I hit 30. Like, that's a real thing with Pete Alonso, and I think that if you were to sign him at age 30, you can expect a couple 40 home run years in his future with you. And honestly, if you didn't get it, you'd probably be very disappointed, because the amount of money that you would have to spend for Pete Alonso, it would be significant.
Yeah, like they're projecting $29 million. I've seen other projections where they have that number, average annual value, a little bit lower. Like they have them at like 150. But I think it's probably going to cost somewhere between 25 to 30, maybe even a little bit over 30, depending on how the market dictates.
Yeah.
And then, he's going to want a 6-year deal, right? This is kind of like, to a different extent, because it's a first baseman, it's a different type of hitter than a George Springer, like where he's just a lot more power, a little bit less contact, where George Springer kind of had a bit of both. Like, this is our new veteran guy you bring in to fit in the lineup that you're going to rely on every single day. And look, you got to have those guys on your team. I know everyone's scared about George Springer, but you got to have guys like Pete Alonso on your team. The one good thing is he plays a lot less taxing position at first base and might even be a DH one day for you. So I'm cool with it, and he's a nice guy. You know, Pete Alonso, Polar Bear Pete. We can get behind that, right?
Yeah.
Let's bring him over.
I definitely like and I have some respect for Pete Alonso. I think he's pretty cool, and I think that he brings a little bit of that, I don't know if this is a full or a great comparison, but it's kind of like that Josh Donaldson fuck you attitude that I see with Pete Alonso.
Really? I see the opposite.
But it's a energy, it's an electricity. He plays with, like, have you ever seen this guy when he hits a fucking bomb and he's screaming at the top of his lungs and going around? It's like Josh Naylor levels of excitement that I see from Pete Alonso. That doesn't mean he's not a nice guy. Yeah, he's still a great guy.
You compare him to Josh Donaldson, who's just an actual, like, asshole. He's not an asshole.
That's why I said it wasn't a great overall comparison. But the energy that they play with, the firepower that he has, I think that would ignite something in this team and in this locker room, in this dugout, which would be really good for the Toronto Blue Jays.
I think he gels well with the camaraderie of the team. I mean, like, Vladdy's a nice guy. Bo, as we know, is a nice guy. Like, there's a lot of nice guys in this locker room, and I think Pete Alonso would fit pretty good. Also, big shout out to Willard right now with a $279 gifted dono saying, would you guys trade Bo for Helsley? That's actually something I was looking at today, because the St. Louis Cardinals were thinking about, they put him on the trade block. They announced it. He's on the trade block, and he's like a very good closer for them on arbitration deal. I think he's got like 2 years left. Really? And that's a guy that, like, he's pretty cheap, like $3.9 million for this next year or last year. Pretty cheap guy that you want to go get right there with really good numbers.
Interesting.
So I would.
I didn't see that, but I mean, if what you're saying is true, now keep in mind, everybody, Bo Bichette is apparently off of the trade block right now. That Ross Atkins came out and was talking about how it's like, if anybody calls, the answer is no. However, again, I've been saying that this is a fluid situation right now. If you could lock in somebody who is, 30 years old and has a 2.04 ERA last year, yeah, that'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, he's only got 1 year. I must have misread that. ARB eligible 2025. Yeah, so he's gone his last year of ARB. Bo Bichette for him, though, I mean, again, like, it all depends, I guess, on the deal. I feel like you'd have to maybe add on a bit more on the St. Louis side of things, because they're both 1 year guys. One's a former all-star shortstop, and I guess one's a former really good closer, but we'll see. I don't know. Like, we'll see. Wow. I don't know if I would do 1 for 1, though.
49 saves last year.
That's a lot of saves.
That's a lot of fucking saves.
That's
a lot of saves.
That's a lot of saves.
Interesting thought experiment right there. Speaking of you guys asking questions, we got an amazing response from you guys, the community as a whole. We put like a mailbag out there, last week, and we said that we were going to start answering some of those questions. So stay tuned, everybody. We're going to answer, a couple of the questions that you guys submitted today. And if your question does not get answered today, don't worry. We haven't forgot about you. We're going to be doing this every Monday, every Friday for our Blue Jays Today show. So just keep tuning in, and I'm sure that if you submitted a question, we will get to it eventually.
And keep submitting your questions if we don't get you to, too, because obviously things change all the time as the course of the offseason goes on. So, we're just trying to give everybody a little bit of light. So if you haven't got your question answered yet, keep on going, guys.
Yeah, 100%, man. What is the next thing we're talking about today?
So today, we're going to talk about Teoscar Hernandez, everybody. Our good buddy, Teoscar Hernandez. Now, is he coming to the Toronto Blue Jays? It doesn't look like he is.
No, he's not.
He's not coming back to the Toronto Blue Jays, everybody. Everyone loves Teoscar Hernandez, so we thought we'd give him a little bit of light. The latest report is that the Dodgers, the Orioles, and the Red Sox are all interested in Teoscar Hernandez. The big thing to note here is AL East. I mean, obviously Dodgers were a given.
Yeah.
But you got two AL East teams coming into the picture here. And anytime an AL East team makes a move this winter, the Blue Jays go down a little bit in our chances to win and be good in this next season. So that's something that I certainly wouldn't want to have. Is facing him 13 times next year.
No, 100%, right? And just somebody, we want to talk about nice guys and people that are likable. Yeah. I mean, like, Teoscar Hernandez is right up there, I think, for everybody's, nice guy list in baseball. Like, this is just a quality human being, right? Like, I'm sure most of you guys saw the clip of when Hazel May spoke to him, in the MLB postseason, and just how much he lit up like a freaking Christmas tree, right? Like, this is an amazing human being that, had so many great memories with the Toronto Blue Jays. Seeing him in Boston, seeing him in Baltimore, it would suck right now. If they are the teams that are offering him what he's worth, then Teoscar Hernandez, because I like you so much, I say you go, you get your bag. But I also really hope that the LA Dodgers just decide to bring you back, because I know that is his number one priority. It really comes down to, if they pass up on him, then it's looking like an American League East team that isn't the Toronto Blue Jays couldn't end up snagging him. Yeah, it's and it looks like he might actually get a pretty good deal. I mean, we had a year ago, the Red Sox were actually interested in Teoscar Hernandez, and reportedly offered him a 2-year, $28 million deal. Now, I think that's over the course of 2 years, over a 2-year deal, so that's a lot less. Now, he got paid $23.5 million last year by the Dodgers. He's going to get paid more than that, if not equal to that, over a longer period of time. So let's hope, for just Teoscar's sake, he goes and gets it done and gets the bag. Yeah, I'm just looking it up right now. See if I can find it quickly. Do they have like the statistics by ballpark on Baseball Reference? Yes. If you go to splits and go to career. Yeah, so you're seeing what he does in... So I know for a fact that, like, in Boston, specifically in Fenway Park, like, for whatever reason, this guy just, like, absolutely mashes. Like, I was reading that today. See if I can find it. All the way down. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, wait, go down even more. So that's the opponent, right? Yeah, so the ballpark, yeah. So in 45 games played in Fenway Park, he's got 14 home runs, 44 RBIs. So he's literally an RBI a game type of player in Boston, and a 950 OPS. So he has been very good in Boston, and it is a large enough sample size that you can start to go, maybe this guy likes hitting here. And apparently he's come in and he said that. So I would imagine that's part of the reason why Boston's like, you know what? Something's working with this guy in our stadium. Let's keep him here. A power right-handed hitter, in Boston. That's like, on the flip side of things, for Yankees, they go, a power left-handed hitter. That's why they want Pete Alonso, for Christ's sake. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the perfect makeup. Whereas the Blue Jays apparently want contact. I don't really understand. No, that's the thing, right? The competent organizations versus us. I mean, there is a big difference. You play in the AL East, guys. Get power effing hitters. That's the biggest game changer, right? Like, you go to Fenway Park, Camden Yards too, and that right field wall for left-handed hitters is really good as well. And then obviously, you got for Fenway, you got Yankee Stadium, and then Tampa Bay Rays is the only one that's like kind of weird. And then our own ballpark is supposed to be a hitter-friendly one, right? But we haven't really seen that yet. I think it's mostly because our team, ever since the new renovations, has been like ass at hitting home runs. So I think that plays into a fact. It was so funny. Everyone was always like, all these MLB analysts like, why have the Blue Jays got worse after the renovations? Like, the ballpark numbers here aren't working out. It's like, well, because the half of the teams that are playing at Rogers Center can't hit effing home runs to save their lives. It's got nothing to do with the ballpark, guys. It's the roster that we are fielding on a daily basis. So either way, folks, for our sake, and Sophie says it in here, I mean, if he was the Boston Red Sox, he'd be a J killer. I completely agree with you. For our sake, I truly hope that the LA Dodgers do decide to lock him up, and it's just like, you know what, live your career out in LA, win a couple more World Series, get some chips and whatnot. Just don't come to the Boston freaking Red Sox. Please don't do that. Last notable piece of kind of rumors and speculation. This one's actually pretty locked in, guys. The Dodgers have made a massive offer to a Blue Jay that I think we all have been, or maybe a potential Blue Jay that we were hoping to get, which is Willy Adames. That was the big shortstop guy out there. If Bo Bichette wasn't going to be on the team, we'd go and plug in Willy Adames and he'd be the future. However, it would cost quite a lot of money because at least the Dodgers are offering $160 million. So that is the floor. Can I want to make a minor correction right there. So exactly what went down here is the Mets. It was the Mets that offered $160, And now the Dodgers. It hasn't come out yet what the Dodgers have offered.
Right.
But they are making another competitive. I mean, again, you got the Mets, you got the Dodgers. 160 is the minimum. Dodgers could have offered more. We don't know.
170, like that's a Dodger right
Literally,
there. You know,
right?
Like they need a shortstop. Willy Adames would be perfect for them.
Yes.
So in my mind, Nick, am I willing to shell out 170, 180, 190 for Willy Adames? That feels like it's starting to get up there for me.
Well, I also, I don't know if it matters, man, because, yeah, you're right. I guess it would matter if we're willing to offer $200 million.
Yeah.
But you are now dealing with the LA Dodgers, who have been known to just spend at will. Last offseason was crazy. And then the other spending at will type of team, Steve Cohen and the New York Mets. And when you're up against those two squads and they are serious about this guy, I mean, fuck, we're like, what, 4 or 5 days officially into free agency, and both of them already have $160 million offers on the table.
God.
Like, this is clearly somebody that they are both very serious about and want to get on their ball team.
Yeah.
If they're serious and they're locked in, there's nothing we can do. Actually, that's just the reality of the situation, unless, of course, you offer 200, 250, just go way above and beyond.
And then that gets really ridiculous. And it's like, okay, now we're just taking Vladdy's money and putting it into Willy Adames. Like, no thank you, right? So I think while they're going and looking at Willy, we got to be going and looking at Alonso right now. Like, get some other guys, or Santander, or something like that. Like, we got to be getting in on that, ASAP,
yeah,
right?
Effectively what I took from all of that, with, the Mets and the Dodgers being in on that guy, is it's no more. It was always a long shot to get Willy Adames anyways, because he is such a coveted free agent, and he's kind of owning the shortstop market, and he's so good at defense. So a lot of teams are like, okay, that's somebody that we really want on our ball team. Now, once you've seen these two big juggernauts come out, I really do think it's game over, and you're right, we have to pivot. It's got to be an Alonso if they're not already in on him, which I actually saw a report from John Heyman talking about how the New York Mets could get Alonso and Soto back this year and get Willy Adames. So, the Mets might just go completely insane mode.
Remember 2 years ago when they went insane mode, and we could see that.
Well, here's the thing, man. What we've watched ever since Steve Cohen has taken over, it's every other year.
Insane.
Exactly, right? Because remember, you had the season where they did the Frankie Lindor trade, and then the extension, and then they did a bunch of other shit there, and then they took a little time off, and then in 2023, the offseason between 2022 and 2023, they go out, they get Verlander, they get Scherzer, they get they add in again. Then they were quiet this past offseason.
They gotta let those contracts play out.
We're gonna let that play out. We didn't do so good the year prior. Now they were quiet last offseason, and they were good this year. And now they're going to go insane mode again.
Yeah, it's going to happen, guys. Who's going to go insane mode? Is it going to be the Mets? Is it going to be the Dodgers? Is it going to be the Yankees? Is it going to be the Blue Jays? We're going to find out, everybody, as we continue on. But that is the latest kind of Blue Jays news and rumblings happening for the Toronto Blue Jays. However, we got more to talk about in this podcast, in the show, everybody. We have that mailbag that we talked about. We're going to bring that up. We're going to bring up a few questions. But before we do, let's give a quick shout out to the sponsor of the Blue Jays Today show.
Whoa! Up your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below to join the action. Only available in Ontario. Must be 19 years of older to participate. Please play responsibly. Now, everyone, back to the content.
Shout out to Betway, everybody, for being absolutely phenomenal. Seriously, folks, it would help out the channel a bunch, and I promise you guys, if you are interested in sports betting at all, you would appreciate it to hit that QR code, download the app. I mean, this is one of those things that, they track, all the numbers get tracked and stuff like that, so it would be really appreciated here. We got the lines up for the Buccaneers-Chiefs game, is that right?
It did an update. Sometimes this computer does funny things to me where it does update and then it doesn't update.
Right.
And here we go. Here's the actual lines. Red Wings and Leafs tonight. If you're Leafs fans, you're probably watching. Apparently there's no Austin Matthews here tonight, or what's going on? But apparently they're still heavy favorites against Red Wings.
I read something earlier today coming. I think it was from the Score, just saying that they might keep Matthews out again. I mean, that's still up in the air at this point. Either way, I haven't watched too much Leafs this year, but I've just been looking at the record and seeing the scores and stuff like that. I know the Red Wings are terrible, But if there's no Matthews, maybe we just take the underdog.
Hit the line, because if there is no Matthews, I bet that line for the money line is going to start going down. So if you are betting people and you're kind of predicting Matthews ain't going to do it, hit the line right there for the Red Wings. I mean, they're an okay team. I thought they were an okay team, and at least they've been kind of doing bad. So
okay. So there you have it, everybody. Let us know who you are rocking with, and if, of course, you do in fact download the app, let us know. We would appreciate it. A lot of you submitted some questions on our mailbag. Let's get into it. The first one we have right here comes in from Tyler Banachero. That's a pretty easy one, but I'm sure we'll have some tougher names later down the line.
Yeah,
so
there will
if we mispronounce any of your names, we apologize. But he comes in, he's asking, who do you guys think is the most realistic out of these two players to assumingly sign? Santander or Tyler O'Neill?
Okay, well, realistically, it's got to be Tyler O'Neill for me, because Santander is going to get a lot of looks from a lot of people, and so will Tyler O'Neill, absolutely. But they're both very similar player types, right? They're both power-hitting guys. Santander a little bit more power-hitting because he just was on the field a little bit longer this past year. Tyler O'Neill, though, is no slouch. He has a lot of pop on that bat, but here's why I think it's most realistic, because part of the big roadblock for the Blue Jays to try and convince people to come over north of the border is that we're a Canadian team. Tyler O'Neill's Canadian, everybody. So if there's one less obstacle you got to face in that regards, it's that. And Tyler O'Neill would probably be open to playing for his home country. And they're kind of, again, very similar type of players. Give me Tyler O'Neill in this question.
No, I completely agree with you on all of that, right? I'm looking at his projected contract here from Spot Rack, and at 29 years old, they're saying that he would get a 3-year, $49 million contract, so round that up to 3 years, $50 million, which honestly, is not the worst. That's roughly a $16.2 million average annual value.
That's kind of right in our budget range if we're looking at the Toronto Blue Jays.
100%, right? And I mean, that would also be, it would be a little bit more over the budget, but if they were serious about doing a Max Fried thing like we talked about earlier in this video, I mean, you get a Max Fried, you still need to get somebody in that lineup that probably excludes you from a Pete Alonso, or it takes you out of the running for an Anthony Santander. It wouldn't necessarily take you out of the running for somebody like a Tyler O'Neill.
No.
And is he as sure of a thing as a Pete Alonso? Absolutely not.
Right.
But you're still talking about somebody who does have the upside to potentially have a 30 or 40 home run season. The pop with Tyler O'Neill is 100% there. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen this guy just on the baseball field.
He's jacked.
He's a fucking meatball, man.
Yeah, he's just a meathead,
big boy.
He's a meathead.
But he hits the ball hard.
Absolutely, right? So I actually, sneakily enough, for the amount of value you're going to get in that contract that you would pay for him, I think is really, really good and what's the word I'm trying to say? Attractive to me. But one big upside or downside, I guess, of Tyler O'Neill is that he does have a big injury history, and we haven't seen this consistency from him for a large part of his career. Like when he was over in St. Louis, he was really struggling for a large part of it. Goes over to Boston, has some success. So maybe he's figured out something. Maybe he's turned a page. So there is a bit of risk. That's why the price is a little bit lower, whereas Santander is more of a sure thing, but that's why I think more teams are going to be on him. So,
I agree. O'Neill's where we're at for that one. What's the next question?
The next question we got here, everybody, comes from Ollie saying, would you rather the Jays sign Juan Soto and let Vladdy walk, or they extend Vladdy and sign Adames, so Willy Adames? That is a good question because you obviously Juan Soto is an impact player, a generational talent, but you'd have to let another maybe not in Mark Shapiro's eyes, generational talent walk. And or would you have just Vladdy and Adames, who are tiers below him, but very good in their own right? What are your thoughts on that, Nick?
That's a tough one, man. It really is. I mean, now that I'm hearing what Willy Adames is truly going to be worth, that's a lot of money. And I do think that Willy Adames is a quality baseball player, but this past year was the best year that we've seen from him in a long period of time from an offensive standpoint. So honestly, maybe this is a little wild. I didn't expect myself to say this, but I think I would still prefer that they sign Juan Soto, let Vladdy walk. Does that mean that we're going to be competitive as we would be if we had Vladdy and Adames next year? Maybe not, but I think that by signing Juan Soto, you now have a 13-year window to figure it out, and there's always going to be another there's always going to be another Willy Adames available on the free agency market or somebody like that. There's not always going to be somebody like a Juan Soto.
Fair enough. No, that's pretty fair. Because I was kind of like, now that you put it that way, where it's like, there will be another Willy Adames, and absolutely. But I'll say the other side of things. I think I would rather have just extend Vladdy and then sign Adames. Just because, I mean, there's going to be a little bit less. You're gonna have a little bit more money to play around with, I guess, in the future free agencies. Maybe go get a second Adames for that money that you would be costing for a Juan Soto, and then you'll have a little bit more punch, value there, I guess, in terms of how much money you're spending. And also, maybe it's just I got tunnel vision right now, but for next season, that would be very good to get the Blue Jays back on track and quick, right? Whereas like if you go get Soto. And then I guess you would have Vladdy for.
You would have one incredible year.
Then,
it would be pretty good.
Then it's like, are we going to be spending too much money on just Soto and not be able to supplement the rest of our team? So for me, I think it's very close. Good question, Ollie. I'm going to lean towards extending Vladdy and signing him.
Yeah, let us know in the comments down below what you guys think about it. Ultimately, though, I think we can both safely say neither of those things are going to happen.
I wish.
Again, now that we're hearing what the offer for Adames is, being upwards of 160, and then also, too, like just the fact that, Steve Cohen, I don't know if you saw this, but Steve Cohen is flying out to California.
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
To meet with Juan Soto, and he's already been, I saw something as well that the Yankees had already given an offer of 575. I don't know if that's like 100% locked in, but I read that, and that the Mets had also been like, that's an easy match for us.
Right.
And that's just kind of like the complete floor baseline. Jesus. It's obviously going to be a lot more than that type thing.
He's going to get paid I think he's getting paid $700, dude.
Well,
I think it's going to get
I think that, again, like this is just report. I can't promise you that this is real or not, but if it has been offered at 575 and it's November 8th right now.
Yeah, it's gonna keep going.
Like I would say at minimum you're looking at 650 probably.
At least 650. Right? I think it's between 650 and 700. You know what I mean?
It could get up there. Yeah. It really could get up there if that's where we're starting at. So either way, guys, that's a great question from Ollie right there. Yeah. I don't think either of those things are going to happen.
No, I feel you. But actually, speaking of the topic of Juan Soto, we got another question here from Ari Pai. Shout out to Ari Pai for being always a listener on this show. They're asking, and shout out to the actual donut right there. Let's go, Scott.
He's got a little statement right here. Jays won't sign Sasaki. They have $475,000 of international bonus pool. Dodgers have $2.5 million. You can trade it in $250,000 increments. Yeah, you're talking about Roki Sasaki right there. Very, very talented pitcher out there in Japan. Young guy, 23 years old. If you get him, you're laughing. Everybody thinks that if he is posted, because there's still question marks whether or not he's going to be posted and everything like that, but if he is posted, it's Dodgers by $1 million.
By $1 million,
And that's just I think you're gonna see that now that Ohtani's been there. Like, keep in mind, that's their GOAT.
Yeah.
That's everyone's GOAT, but that's especially their GOAT. And this is somebody who, being 23 years old, it's very likely that when he was in high school and he was training, he was watching as Shohei Ohtani was in the MLB, and he was looking up to him as like the god. This is my guy, this is my hero. He's going to the LA Dodgers.
It's like when you're in the NFL and you grew up watching Tom Brady when he was getting into his second half of his career, and a lot of people that he ended up playing with, like Rob Gronkowski, was like, I grew up watching Tom Brady, which is nuts. So obviously it's a blessing. So good question. Thank you for the dono, Scott. Also, here's this question from Ari Pai saying, what reasons could make Jays fans positive that they could actually sign Soto this year and not be used for leverage? This one got me thinking right here, just like, wow, like, what are the reasons to give Jays fans a little bit of hope about Juan Soto? Let me hear your thoughts, Nick, of just what exactly that could be.
I'll start with what's not going to work. You can't use the argument of, well, we're going to be all in with you and everything like that, and we're going to win and whatnot, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to say that. And there are other teams out there that have stronger claims to winning and stronger claims to being all in than you do. I'm talking about the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, right? They've always been known to spend more money, and they have a better success rate than we do in at least the last, couple of years. So, yeah, you'll tell them that, but that's not going to move the needle. What might move the needle, in my opinion, is two things. One, you're Canada. And because you're Canada, you've got to try to sell them on the fact that if you come here, everybody around Canada that's a baseball fan is going to buy back in on this organization and this team, and that's going to help you grow your brand. So there's one thing right there. That was a big argument that we were telling Shohei Ohtani back in the day. Was, well, now you get a whole other country to your resume and everything like that. Yeah. The same thing can be said for Juan Soto. The second argument, and you haven't done a good enough job at solidifying this yet, is that you'll be playing with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That is somebody that he's played Call of Duty with before, and that we know he's buddies with. We see them at the All-Star game every year, hanging out and whatever. They're, Dominican guys that have kind of had the same type of lifestyle, coming to the MLB and, being superstars and whatever. Like, they understand each other. Those, to me, would be your two strongest arguments. And you'd have to extend Vladdy to make it, a big-time argument. But I feel like if you're going to have anything that's different from the Mets or the Dodgers, that would be it.
Yeah, and I really don't think that, and a lot of people say this, that extending Vladdy is going to take away from the chances of Juan Soto. In fact, maybe I sound crazy, I think it actually adds to your chances. Look, like the Blue Jays are a high payroll type of team, and you go add those two guys, yeah, you're going to be high payroll. You're up there now with the Dodgers, with the Yankees, with the Mets, and the Phillies, but that's kind of what we were always trying to be. Like we're trying to be that type of team. But so we go sign them. Well, we're still not the highest payroll team in all of baseball. No. We'd still be in and around that area. But yeah, for me, it's kind of going off your point. The fact that we can be the Dominican team of the MLB, whereas you got the Dodgers being the Japanese team, apparently, if they go get Sasaki. We can go be that Dominican team again like we were back in the 2010s with Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion, right? We can go be that identity again.
Yeah, 100%, right? And then it's like, well, all these young, Dominican players that have grown up watching Guerrero and watching Soto and these two superstars, I mean, now they're looking at Toronto and going, damn, maybe I could convince myself to go to Canada. I would also say as well to everybody that's talking about how, well, if you go, you extend Guerrero, takes away our chances, because, well, then we'd be spending too much money. Juan Soto wants you to spend all that money.
Yes, he does.
Right?
Yes.
And you're talking about these big market teams. Like, the only way that you're going to convince Juan Soto that you are a winning ball team and that you're ready to invest and that you're ready to win around him and everything like that is if you are in the top 5 in payroll for his tenure as a Toronto Blue Jay or whatever he ends up doing.
And imagine you extend Vladdy in the next 2 weeks, right? That'd be amazing. That's obviously wishful thinking, but let's say you did do that. Dude, like, bro, let's go play and let's go win championships together.
Let's go do this together.
Let's go do this together. Like, I don't see that, over on the Dodgers where he's going to get, Dodgers fans don't even want him on the team, which is crazy.
Well, that's a wild thing.
That's a wild thing. But I don't see him doing that. Dodgers. Yankees, sure, but maybe you're friends with Judge, whatever. But this for me, I feel like is a lot different.
100%, right? Like you lock it in, and like again, if Guerrero gets extended to a 10-year contract, then okay, for 10 years, I am gonna have maybe not an Aaron Judge comparable, but somebody that is comparable to me in talent and quality, who I know is going to be up there. We're going to be working together. We're going to be doing this. It's me and you. It's Batman. It's Robin. This is the fucking duo. It's Brady. It's Gronk.
Yeah.
We're in this thing. Let's fucking go all in and win some championships.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And that would be obviously so awesome. But ground ourselves. We have a lot more work to do.
Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah, Tyler O'Neill.
Honestly, I would like Tyler O'Neill. I'm joking around about it. I mean, clearly Juan Soto is different caliber, but Tyler O'Neill, Canadian boy, bring him home. I'd be very happy with that. Would I prefer a Guerrero extension and a Juan Soto signing?
I'm all the way back in. Yes. We're having live streams here. I'm just screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm popping champagne. I'm like, dude, the next 10 years is going to be amazing.
It would change everything.
Literally change everything.
It would change everything. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this Blue Jays Today show. If we did not get to your question from the mailbag, don't fret. We're going to be live again on Monday and next Friday and Monday and next Friday. Just literally every Monday and Friday. And we will be answering, anywhere from 3 to 5 different questions from you guys every week. So keep submitting them. We will get to you. We promise. And we can't wait for this offseason to get underway, guys.
Yeah, and on that note, too, there's going to be a ton of live streams coming up. Like, if the Blue Jays are coming in and getting close to some sort of deal, like last offseason, then we're going to be going live, and I'm sure there's going to be some time that, we got to fill in. So we'll also use the mailbag for that as well. So just keep on submitting it. Link is in the description down below, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always, go Jays, go!